Welcome back to the Talking Dubs podcast. I am Mr. Ryan. Sometimes I rant and I talk too much and I think about everything that's happening around me. I mean, Riley, and this is Mr. Peyton Arthur himself. Whoa, whoa, whoa. All right. So, Mr. Arthur, this I think we talked about several times as being one of the longest weeks we've experienced. And I think it's that coming off that Christmas break. I think it really affected how the week went. But long doesn't mean bad. Long week does not mean that it was a bad week. I think it was a great week.
Yeah, I thought we had a really, really good week. First week back. We talked about it several times, especially with our fifth hour Ag 1 class. By the end of the day, they seemed a little done with it. I think that's just coming back from Christmas break and staying up all night and playing the new, was it Call of Duty? Is that what Braxton's been talking about that came out? So, they've had a rough one, Mr. Riley.
I just think it's sad that most of the history of the last 100 years that these kids are getting is coming from Call of Duty. I mean, I don't know, but it is the new one is about the Cold War, so they really get the lore of the Cold War, Mr. Arthur. Uh, why have the past two episodes of this podcast started with Call of Duty? I didn't do it. Uh,
Didn't even remember.
I mean, you did it, and you're not the gamer, Mr. Arthur. You cut out just a second, but
I've never played Call of Duty. I didn't even know they were about specific wars.
Mr. Arthur, can I get you to play Call of Duty
Uh,
at some point? Will you at least watch me play Call of Duty at some
I'll
point?
watch TikTok while you play Call of Duty.
Okay. All right, millennial. Okay, so let's. Wow. Okay, Mr. Arthur, we are trying to do a shorter format, even though you're trying to talk about COD all day. Let's get into this shorter format. We trim some of the fat, just like hogs of the past 10 years. We're trying to get them leaner.
Throwing in a little ag flavor there. I like it.
Well, trying to get it off of Call of Duty, gamer. All right, so shorter format, we are going to go straight into where is this, where we talk about what happened this week. We just teased it with it was a long, it felt long, but it was a good week, really good week. We had a lot of positive things happen in the ag department this week. And there were some things on my side of the ag department that weren't the most positive of situations, but we're able to make use of our time in a very positive way. I think that's always a good week. So,
Absolutely.
how do you want to start talking about the week, Mr. Arthur?
Let's start with our second blocks and then move through all the way to fifth block.
Yeah, let's start at the beginning with second block.
In the beginning, what you got second hour?
Second hour, Mr. Arthur. Okay. I honestly don't remember Monday. Oh, I do. I do remember Monday. Monday, we concluded our unit on small engines. We went to the small engine shop for the last time this semester, and we reviewed some ignition problems that happened with engines. We kind of went through carburetor. Um, with those old three and a halves, the carburetor is inside, or it attaches with the gas tank,
Right.
and we didn't really have time to break all of that down. And so we talked about carburetor problems. I took a carburetor off of the generator that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Me and Connor and Peyton took that carburetor off. I think it just needs some carb cleaner and maybe a new fuel filter, and I think it'll be ripping and ready to go. But that was my Monday, Mr. Arthur.
And what a life skill that is to save yourself about $100. Knowing how to clean that grime out of your carburetor.
Yep.
Monday for us, Mr. Riley, was starting actually with our wood duck projects. Before we got out for Christmas, my second and fourth block had planed our cedar boards that we had, building wood duck boxes as a service project for a couple of parks in the area. And so on Monday, we got to start cutting those boards, using radial arm saws, using table saws, using routers, using jigsaws. We had an excellent time. All those boards have been cut. As you know, my second block is very large. So we have about 30 of those guys in there. And so we had to kind of take shifts in the shop, but we got it done. And so on Monday, next week when we come back, we'll zap those things together and we will wrap up that project. But I think it's been really fun. Definitely not ideal to have that many guys that are, sitting out while other ones are in, but they've really done well and played along. So thank you guys for that. But it's been a pretty good project.
While y'all were working on that, post Monday, what we call the rest of the week,
Yeah.
Tuesday we had, I believe that was it Wednesday was ACP day?
Yes.
Okay, well, ACP day, we were supposed to get in, we had a quiz lined up, and we had we were going to start our ag business projects.
Mhm.
But we had a little hitch because we lost half our class to ACT, the practice ACT, and so we used that opportunity, Mr. Arthur. I thought about tackling a project in the shop. Didn't really want to get in y'all's way. Y'all were having a great time with the wood duck boxes, and so we used that opportunity to. These students really haven't had the opportunity to do a presentation per se in ag. So we took that opportunity to work on a little debate. And so we split up we had about 8 kids. We split into 2 teams, and they researched. One team was pro GMO, one team was con GMO. They took that opportunity to do some research. And we talked, without saying it, we talked about a little pathos and ethos and all that. And I really liked, con went into a direction that I'm glad they went, because when they got out of it, we would do, start with pro, then go con, rebuttal, and do all that. And we did that twice, and then we stopped, and I gave them time to go back and research the other team's points that they've made.
Right.
When we came back and they finished, I said, all right, guys, now let's just talk. What did we learn? And the con side was like, we learned that GMO, I don't understand the negativity surrounding GMOs.
Yeah.
And I was like, thank you. When y'all were, because that was the team that, well, I'm not going to say names, but on that team, they, had put their sources.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, the sources we had were just weird, random websites, mostly like blog type stuff. And we saw that there was just nothing. And, a lot of their thing was, their first point was that it kills butterflies. And I stopped and I looked at the pro team and I was like, guys, I want you to just think about this. They could have named any pollinator. But what they picked? They picked the prettiest pollinator.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted you, talking about the pathos and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
And I thought that was the most real life situation that they could get. And I was so glad they came to the conclusion that was correct, and that we're hurting agriculture by trying to limit GMOs. But, that's neither here nor there.
Right. Well, I think it's something that definitely needs to be debated. There's a lot of misconceptions surrounding that topic. And, we try to teach our guys that as we go through Ag 1 and 2 and, give them a little bit of here and there and make them better agriculturists. And what an excellent way to wrap that up with a debate. Finally forming their own opinion and then digging deeper through research. That's awesome.
I like that I didn't have to beat it into their head. I didn't have to go from a stance of, guys, this is stupid. This is, right, or anything like that. They came to the conclusion that the agriculture side is correct. That, pro ag is the best way to be. And so that was a proud teacher moment, I thought.
Absolutely.
And this today we started our ag business projects, and it's going to be fun, Mr. Arthur. I think I'm going to have you judge some of these. If we have a chance, maybe Ag2 could watch some of them, or maybe I can just do a short little video. You could watch them,
Yeah.
whatever. So I think it's going to be a good time.
ag business is one of those things that oftentimes in an ag program gets kind of pushed to the side. And so doing a discovery project where those guys are getting to dig into ag business, and they're going to use that on their agri-technology test. So I think it's a great way to teach it, because as anything, that can be kind of dry. But
We covered vocab on general marketing and agriculture. They took that quiz this morning on it, and what we're doing with the project is I'm giving them about 4 steps. They're working on those 4 steps, and then we're relating it back to our vocab. So it's just making it a nice, trying to make it stick a little bit better. So, Mr. Arthur, is this where you want me to talk about shirts?
well, we didn't really talk about fifth hour,
Oh, I'm sorry.
because we had a lot of good stuff that happened in fifth hour, I think, this week.
I think so too. I don't know why I'm trying to rush.
No, yeah, I just, it's always, I think it's my favorite part of being an ag teacher is watching freshmen's eyes light up when you talk about something. And we saw that for sure when we did sheep and goats. When we had the goats in the classroom, and they just absolutely adored that. And I think next week we're going to see some more eyes light up when we get to do some hands-on activities. But we've, over the last couple of days and weeks, laid a really solid foundation for animal science, whether they know it or not. We've talked about breeds of almost every species, livestock species. Even got into chickens and poultry a little bit. And so I know that their hands are tired of taking notes, but the content and the knowledge that they've learned over the past several weeks is really going to play an important role in next week when we start talking about our CDEs and spring contests.
I think it's one of those things that you just have to get in Ag 1, because if you never take another ag class, you need to know what a Holstein is.
Yeah.
You need to know what a Brahma bull is. You need to know these things, because it just makes you, we always come back to it. It makes you a better consumer, makes you a better citizen. It just really makes you a more well-rounded individual. And, when we talk about plants at some point, I love when I teach plant ID, because I'm like, guys, this is almost like a superpower. It's so interesting to be able to walk through and say, I know what that is. Because the population as a whole does not know those things. And so if you can just step up and say simple things like, I know that chocolate milk doesn't come from a brown cow. I know that black and white cow is a Holstein. I know that this red hog is a Duroc. Like, if you just know those things, it just makes you more informed, and that's a great position to be in.
One of our students, I'm not sure if you were in the room, I think we're on mass break, and one of them said, I went and visited my grandparents in the Indiana, Ohio area, or Illinois area, over Christmas break. And right before we got out, we talked about beef and dairy cattle. And she said, I was driving down the road and I was pointing out what cow was what. How awesome is that they're using that knowledge, and it was nothing more than trivia in a car, but just showing what they knew. That's what it's all about. Because at the end of the day, not only are they a better consumer, but everybody in the car is a better consumer by that being shared.
Yeah, I've had kids, they get out of that beef cattle unit and they come like, Mr. Riley, I passed a Brahma and I've passed it every day and I didn't know what it was. And now I know what it is. And that's just great, it's so fun, So for sure. I'm glad that we got to cover chickens. Chickens is such an important part of our area and all, and we really, we did beef cattle, we did dairy cattle before Christmas, but we got to cover the things that really make a lot of difference in our parish this week when we got to cover pigs and chickens, and I thought that was an awesome experience. But like you said, it is a lot of note taking, and I'm just really thankful that they stuck through it. And I think they did a good job. And I think, Mr. Arthur, that we started something really fun today where we went ahead and just blended it into, livestock judging.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a fun Monday when we come back.
It definitely is. And like I said, we're going to talk about CDEs when we finish up with animal science. And we've told that class several times, but just to reiterate, it gets a lot more fun from here. They've learned that foundation, they've learned that knowledge, so let's build on it. And it's going to get really fun, I think. In the next semester, those that are going to stick with us are really going to have a good time, and I think are going to come back, for Ag 2, 3, and beyond.
I think about, and I'm just going to be lame. I'm just going to do it, Mr. Arthur. But like education as a whole, when you start, you have to learn the language. You have to learn whether if it's ELA, you learn the English language. You learn how it interacts with each other, and that way, when you get to Dr. Cole's class, you can read Shakespeare. You can do those things, and it makes so much more sense because you know the language. Agriculture is the same way. We have to get all those basic terms and basic knowledge down, and it makes your next 3 years even better because you have the basics down. And I know that's a simple concept, but sometimes we don't think about how that works together. You have to know how to add before you can multiply. And it's just that concept in ag form. And that's what Ag 1 is. And I'm really thankful for the ones that are sticking through it and drawing the pigs and drawing and labeling and doing all those things, because it's going to make a world of difference in the next couple of years.
Yeah, for sure. Did you happen to have any quotes or anything from this week that you heard that just needed to be said?
Mr. Arthur, I wrote something on the board and you erased it. I'm not mad, but let me see if no, I did not. I did like yesterday when I was able to lighten up breeds by writing fun names on the board, but that's a me thing, and that's just me being goofy, and I don't want to make this about me. I didn't really have anything. There was a couple of phrases that came out of the debate and all, but I'm going to save that for another day.
Okay. Well, I'm going to make something about me real quick. Quote of the week from me: don't wear Crocs in the ag shop. at my Ag 2. Don't wear Crocs in the ag shop.
Mr. Arthur, I go to my office, and somebody, I'm definitely not going to name names, but some of the Croc coalition, members of the Croc coalition approached me and asked, Mr. Riley, what is the problem with wearing Crocs in the shop? I don't understand why. And I said, well, in the wood shop, for one, it's a loose shoe. So you could fall, you could slip. I was like, and I told you this morning, I wore my Crocs in high school so much that they were slick, and I would slip all the time. If it had been waxed in the past 3 years, if the floor had been waxed in the past 3 years, I would slip because it just had no grip at all. But then also, I was like, sawdust is going to get in your foot. It's going to be, it could irritate it, could be itchy and all those things. And that doesn't even begin to, if you would have dropped a jigsaw or something.
Thank you. Preach.
There's plenty of reasons to not wear Crocs.
My biggest concern, and I voiced this to them, sawdust on a polished concrete floor is slippery, more slippery than water.
Yes.
And the last thing we need is for you to fall into a saw because you didn't have the right shoes on. And so just out of safety for those people, and I know they don't understand that, but for safety for them, it's just not going to happen. You're not going to wear them in the ag shop. I have nothing against Crocs. I love Crocs. But just bring another pair of shoes to change into, because you're not wearing Crocs in the ag shop. Moving on.
And it's so enthusiastic. I love Crocs. Sure, they're great. But you know what? Don't wear them. Mr. Arthur, the thing is, they don't understand because we are, generally speaking, fun teachers.
Yeah.
But we make learning fun. We make ag great. And, when you have to like down the law like that, they don't always, you know, flip the switch and understand that. But we're here to make sure you don't lose certain things that you came in the ag department with, like toes.
Yeah. I was thankful though. Some of them were really worried about losing points on their grade today. So when all the tools were up, they came in the shop and cleaned. So I appreciate that, but don't do it again.
Right. I used to have them look down at their hands, and I said, count how many you have right now, and whatever you have right now is what we're going to end day 180 with. You know, whatever, you know, no pressure, but that's my goal as an ag teacher. So, Mr. Arthur, that's our week, right?
That's our week.
Okay. So, I guess I'll talk about the shirts real quick.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, guys. Our shirt order, we've told most of you. I've probably missed some of y'all. Before I say anything about what isn't here, just to reiterate, if you paid your dues and you did not receive your free t-shirt, please talk to Mr. Arthur and myself. We were shorted a couple of those shirts, so we might not have your size, and we are working diligently to fix that problem. But most sizes we have in stock. So just if you paid your dues and you've not received your shirt, please come see one of us, and we will definitely help you with that. If you or your parents or your loved ones ordered merchandise and you have not received it, we are working on it. If you haven't heard from us at all, come ask us, and we'll definitely tell you where in the thing you are. I think, Mr. Arthur, we still have a couple of orders from students or community members that haven't picked up yet. But if you did order, come talk to us. If you hadn't heard from us, for those of you that don't know, a third of our order was back ordered, and we have been waiting on it. Me and Mr. Arthur have literally checked with UPS daily, and I'm not going to call out any company that might be hindering our merchandise flow, but there have been hiccups. And like a good hiccup, I've been drinking a lot of water to deal with it. And the thing is, some of your orders will arrive to the place on Monday, and then they will have it printed and shipped to us. The last time it shipped to us, it took somewhere between 1 and 14 business days. So some point between now and February, we will have it. There is I hope a small portion of your orders that have been technically canceled because of a lack of goods. I guess the corona bug, you know, and its widespreading reach has made some delightful cotton products obsolete, not existent. So some of the items just they can't get. And so for those items, they will issue, and they're supposed to be in the process of issuing refunds. If you don't get it next week or whenever we get that shipment and you don't get your refund, talk to us, and we will do everything in our power to fix that problem. And you know, even if we have to dip into something else to get those refunds out, we will take care of it, because we hate this has happened. And this, Mr. Arthur, this pains me so much. Like this, oh gosh. Anyway, just know that we regret to tell you all of these things. Like, this is not how we wanted it to go. This is not how we were promised that it would go. And we will make it right as much as we can.
We would love to tell you the full story in person.
Yeah, if anybody would like to join me for a cup of coffee at Embers, and I will relay the whole story to you, I would be happy to do so. I could really go for a cup of coffee, Mr. Arthur. So that, I believe, gets us through the week. That was our week, Mr. Arthur. Do you have anything else to add?
Just wanted to do question number 1. That's okay before we move into the next section. In the spirit of talking about swine the last couple of days in Ag 1, this will be an easy review question for our Ag 1 students and just a good review question for the rest of our Ag students. So, Mr. Riley, what breed of swine has a red and white body and shares a name with a beef cattle breed of the same color?
Okay, Mr. Arthur, you said red and white, and I'm sitting here thinking, and I think, ooh, it's got a white. Does it have a white face?
It does.
Ooh, would that be a? Ooh, I know what it is. I'm here for this. This is a Hereford.
A Hereford, that's right. We talked about Hereford cattle um, when we talked about beef cattle, also in swine, having the white face, white underline, white legs and feet. It just is a kind of a replica of that in swine form. So we talked about that this week with our Ag 1 students, and surely you guys remember that from when you were in Ag 1 if you're in an upper Ag.
Mr. Arthur, they can't see our show notes, but I really like that you put Hereford in red. That's a nice touch.
Not intentional, because the other answer's in red too.
Oh, okay. Well, I was trying to give you more credit. Okay, whatever, Mr. Arthur. Moving on. We are going into the next segment. Move the chains. We are going into When Is This? This is where we talk about FFA news, and we have a lot to cover, but I don't think it's going to take very long.
No, it should.
It's a lot of announcement type stuff. This is very important for all FFA members, all Ag students. Remember that if you want to participate in any of the things that we're talking about and you have not paid your dues, we still will accept dues. The issue of the t-shirt will become a little tricky, but we will do what we can. But if you want to participate in any of these events, just talk to me and Mr. Arthur, and we have several things coming up. One might say too many things coming up.
Yeah, we're just gonna plow through it.
How much, Mr. Arthur, do you want me to do practice, you to do CDEs on the horizon, or vice versa?
You do practice. You do practice. I'll do regulars, and you do newbies.
Sounds like a plan. So me and Mr. Arthur, in our limited wisdom, we are going to look at this calendar of events, and we are going to start doubling and tripling up weeks of practice. So, ideally we would be practicing one thing at a time, and you'd have your opportunity to join one thing and just learn that. We are having to adopt a different plan this year due to everything. So if you would like to be at P-Law practice, that'll be this Tuesday after school. We've been trying to wrap up most of it by 4:30. Sometimes it goes into 4:45, but definitely by 4:45 it'll be over. That happens in the Ag department, in the complete Ag department. We really let it breathe and make use of the space. And so that is on Tuesday. On Thursday, we will have our next forestry practice. Forestry and P-Law make up the bread and butter of the Winfield Ag department. Those two areas make up probably close to a fifth of all the awards that the Winfield Ag department has earned over the years. And so a really special thing to be a part of. P-Law is getting ready for something that'll be at the end of April. Forestry is getting ready for something that'll be in mid-April. But we're doing those things so we have time to focus on what Mr. Arthur is about to talk about. If you want to join either of those things and you don't know anything about it, talk to me, Mr. Arthur, or we can set you up talking to one of the members of those teams that would love to give you more information.
So CDE season is on the horizon. When we transition into next semester, we will get full-fledged into you guys having an ag specialization during class. And so you will work with a group of peers that is studying the same project area that you are. We have kept the regulars that we have done in the past, what is it now, Mr. Riley? Almost 90 years of Winfield FFA. These are kind of been the staples of what we do since 1936. And those are poultry, livestock judging, dairy cattle judging, meat ID, electricity for our junior and senior members, and then forestry. And so those contests, usually forestry would be in the fall, but this year, like Mr. Riley said, it's going to be in the late spring, early summer. But we're going to just throw it in there with the rest of them and train. May not be as much in class as the others, but we're definitely going to train those in class. But Mr. Riley and I are very excited to add 4 new contests to our assortment of contests and areas that we do here, and give more students an opportunity to compete and participate. So I'll turn it over to Mr. Riley to talk about those.
Because Mr. Arthur said more students will have an opportunity, these spots are technically limited to generally about 8 per contest. We can have more go out for the team, but the top 8 will be able to compete for most of these. I think pretty much everything we're talking about are teams of 4, except for electricity. Yeah, and but for these contests, for the new contests that we're bringing to the Winfield FFA chapter are nursery and landscape, which is I don't want to be prejudiced, but I do thoroughly enjoy the nursery and landscape contest. Learn about plants, and it's a great time. Ornamental plants are an underappreciated part of agriculture, and I'm really glad we were able to bring that. And next year, when we have a more of a greenhouse structure, it's going to be even more fun. Then horse eval, which if anybody knows me, they definitely have heard of my love of horses and all things equine related. And so equine or horse eval is going to be something. Mr. Arthur, do we have a roundabout date for that?
I've heard 2 dates. One is early, one is late. So, either way, we're going to be as prepared as we're going to be. This contest is coming to you per special request of about 3 or 4 students. And, if we have students that are interested in the topic area and we have enough to make a team, we definitely want to compete. And last year it didn't work out for us to compete, but this year probably going to be virtual, if I had to guess. And so it's not going to be a 6-hour journey for us. So we're excited about competing in this, testing the waters really. But I competed in this when I was in school and did fairly well. So I'm hoping that our students here at Winfield will do the same.
Horse eval, for any of our older kids that have no idea what that contest is about, might be interested in it. It's very similar to dairy cattle, and that it's like livestock judging, but very, very specialized. It's the same concept, but it's a very specialized deal. You're not looking at multiple species; you're looking at horses. And Mr. Arthur, when you said the online thing, I will go ahead and say that most of these, there's a potential that almost all of these are virtual. And so if, maybe parents, guardians are kind of iffy on the fence about students joining these events because they don't want them to go off and, in times like these, and I completely understand that. Most of these will take place in the ag department, probably. So travel shouldn't really be an issue.
Yeah.
We don't know.
Those contests, everything's held virtually or not. Horse eval is usually held in a meet, or has been the past several years. And with that just not being centrally located, I do feel like that's probably going to be virtual regardless. So that's why I mentioned that. But the next 2, Mr. Riley, I'm very excited about.
Yeah, for sure.
I know one of them has never been done here. One of them, if it has, it's been 50 years. So, really.
Well, both of them are new contests. So I don't think either one. One passion project for Mr. Arthur is bringing food science to the Winfield FFA chapter. And that is something that we're going to start in the spring, and you will get the chance to compete in June. And so that'll be something that we have a lot of time to work with and really get the kinks out. And that's going to be a great time if you are interested in food, the science of food, everything that goes into. It's really kind of a broad scale thing that you do everything from sensory type things where you're smelling aromas and we do things called triangle tests. It's really cool where you get to taste and test things and see what's. It's kind of like my favorite song. One of these things is not like the other, and also my favorite part of it is the marketing side of it, where you get to create. You'll have a scenario and you get to create a product that goes with that scenario. You get to completely market it up. So you're going to create packaging for it. And it's a really hands-on contest. It's one of the few contests that we have that has an actual team portion where you work together as a team. That's not P-Law. Everything else pretty much is a team of just collected scores. But with food science, you get to work as a team. It's a really interesting and fun contest or CBE. And vet science is something that is the last contest. It's a new one that we're bringing. Vet science is a really interesting contest. We have a lot of students, Mr. Arthur, that are interested in animal science as a whole, but maybe don't want to judge.
Right.
And so this is going to bring something that is different in that you're going to learn about diseases that affect animals. You're going to learn about breeds of almost every domestic animal that we have, and you're going to learn about equipment that veterinarians use. And it's something that for any student, because I know that Winfield Senior High has had several students that either were interested and went and studied animal science, or would have if this would have been around. And so I think this is going to be a great exploratory type CBE for any student that is wants to get into the vet science area or field.
Yeah, I completely agree. And the next thing, Mr. Riley, I'm very sad to announce that environmental science, or Envirothon, has been canceled in Louisiana for this year. That contest is held in Baton Rouge, and just would be very difficult for it to go virtual. And so after they polled the teachers and talked to us, they decided to go ahead and cancel that contest. This is a contest that we won last year. Winfield brought home a first place banner in. And so we were really hoping to go back and do it again to qualify for nationals. But since that's not going to happen, we're just going to focus that time elsewhere. And hopefully we'll be back next year.
So the last thing about CDEs or contests as in general is that LDEs, all our leadership, all of our speaking events are going to be held. Was it April 29th, Mr. Arthur?
I think so.
So end of April is when your area event is. It will be digital. We are virtual. We did get guidance on that the other day. So we have talked to several of you about doing speeches, about doing presentations and those kinds of things. You can talk to us, or we'll get with you in a few weeks or so and schedule time for practice. Me and Mr. Arthur really need a minimum of about 5 or 6 after school practices to get you ready, to get you game ready. Everything that we've just talked about, all those contests do take precedent because they happen a solid month and a half before LDEs. But we can't let LDEs completely play on the side, because we are going to be very competitive at that, and we can't just let it, because you need more than that 4 or 5 weeks before. And if you're doing forestry along with it, it just really crunches the time.
And there may also be some Fridays that we get you guys up here, since those are school days and we're here, to practice for 45 minutes an hour. So
yeah.
It's up to you if you want to skip that next one. If not, if you want to talk about it a little bit.
Mr. Arthur, I think let's skip it.
Okay, sounds good.
But I think let's skip it.
Okay. I have question number 2 ready, and then I think you've got a little game for us, if I'm not mistaken. So this is something that if you were in my Ag 1 class last year, we talked about. If you were in Ag 1 this year, we definitely talked about it again. Last year, we celebrated an anniversary for this. In what year did the National FFA organization allow females into the agriculture education program? And I think this is something that's really important to Mr. Riley and I both. It's a year that we definitely promote and remember, and it was 1969. And so last year we celebrated 50 years of women in agriculture education. Um, it won't be long before we celebrate 50 years of women in ag ed at Winfield Senior High School. Mr. Vines started to allow girls to take his class either 72 or 73. And so was one of the first teachers in Louisiana to allow girls to compete. We have a long-standing tradition of female success within our program. And this year, after looking at our numbers, we're over 60% female. And so I think that's awesome that, there's no boundaries held by gender here within our program.
I definitely, I can't talk about that enough. I mean, we definitely wouldn't be as successful as we are without them. I can't say anything negative about that. I mean, that is the backbone of the department for sure. Seeing especially how it's 7 out of 10 officers. Yeah, so great thing. All right, Mr. Arthur. So why is this our quiz show? Everybody knows it. They call it out by name. They love this thing so much. I get stopped on the street. I'm walking, trying to get a haircut, and they're like, wow, is that the guy that does Why Is This? And I say, yes, it is. And they said, sir, could you get out of my way? So, Mr. Arthur, I try to focus on bands that I really enjoy, bands that really help define me. And I found one today or I didn't find it today, but I thought about doing this one today, and it's one that you know.
Oh, how about that?
Why not try something different? This is, I'm going to do Need to Breathe, Mr. Arthur.
Okay.
Need to Breathe, or written as Need to Breathe because it's stylized in all caps. I couldn't find an answer. I thought that'd be an interesting question or something. Couldn't find an answer. It's an American rock band, as we know. But this band is composed of Bear Rinehart, named after the Bear Bryant, as a good Southern gentleman that he is. He does lead vocals, guitar, piano. Seth Bolt, which is backing vocals and bass, and Josh Lovelace, which is backing vocals and keys. Josh is a late addition. It used to, until like a year ago, have Bo, who was Bear's brother, but Bo left. I didn't cry too much. Anyway, to date, they have released 7 studio albums. The band, though, as a whole, they met up, they were formed in which East Coast American state? Okay. The hint is this state's flagship university is a member of the SEC for most of its sports, and has recently had success in women's basketball, and has had success this century in baseball.
South Carolina.
The University of South Carolina.
SEC of the East, the USC of the East.
The USC of the East. One might say the better USC. Mm-hmm. I mean, I'm not trying to call them out, but I prefer them to. I don't fight on. You know what I'm saying? But Mr. Arthur, did you know that all their sports were not SEC sports?
I guess I didn't. I don't ever remember playing them in softball when I was at LSU, but I don't know what sports are not.
They are They are in the SEC for softball. They are not in the SEC for men's soccer.
Okay.
Because that's not a recognized sport in the SEC.
Yeah.
And also women's beach volleyball. And for soccer, they're in Conference USA. For volleyball, it was like Coastal Carolina League. I don't know. Some kind of coastal something. Anyway, never heard of it. Now, when they released their first album, their first studio recorded album. They had released some, garage stuff, but their first studio recorded album was Daylight. It's a beautiful album art. I don't know if you've ever seen it. It's gorgeous. But anyway, it was released in 2006 when you were a wee lad, Mr. Arthur. I was just driving. Anyway, so what European country was it recorded in? It was recorded in a European country. Okay. I have a couple of hints.
Okay.
This country's official language was French for 300 years between the year 1066 and the year 1362. Do you know what it is?
No.
I thought you were better at linguistics, Mr. Arthur.
Mm-mm.
Whatever. I thought that would have been good enough, but whatever. I'll go on to hint number 2. This country also lays claim to the oldest English-speaking university, where they say that teaching has been happening at this location starting in the year 1096. 1096. 1096.
Is that Oxford University?
That'd be Oxford University. What country, Mr. Arthur?
Can I tell you that I don't know?
Really?
No, I don't.
I'm sorry. It is Oxford University, and that is in the country of England.
I guess I should have known that.
Well, I thought that their official language was French for 300 years was very odd. And,
Yeah, strange.
I'm not going to call out the country. I just thought that was odd. I guess
Consider they kind of form the English language.
right. Yeah, it's kind of their thing. Whatever. But sometimes I don't have a Southern accent, and that's kind of my thing. So
Yeah, fair.
to each his own. Mr. Arthur, that was my last question. I did want to point out one thing before we close the show. Just if if somebody wasn't on board for Need to Breathe, needed more information, because it's not like those trivia questions helped you know anything about the band. In January of 2017, they opened the Need to Breathe One World Health Center in Pola, Nicaragua, and that center is in an impoverished region, and it's completely funded by the band's donations that they acquire through ticket sales, through a golf tournament and auction they do, and just donations from fans. And I thought that was a really cool deal. They grew up as preachers' kids, and so I have a kinship with them.
That's awesome.
That is the show. That's the quiz, Mr. Arthur.
All right.
So, do you have anything else to add?
I don't. It's been a fun one. Been a fun week, like we talked about. I think this podcast is very necessary to watch. Now, obviously, if you're listening to me right now, you probably watched it. But we covered a lot of things that we just don't have time to cover in class. So that's kind of the purpose of this podcast anyway, is to cover things that are very important and pertinent to you and your success. And like I told Ag1, it would behoove you to watch this. So, but anyway, we'll see you next week. Stay warm. Play in the snow if we get some. And hasta la vista.
I'll give 10 bonus points if somebody can make a snowman that is bigger than your shoe.
I'll give bonus points to whoever brings me snow ice cream.
Well, I wouldn't trust that. Mr.
I didn't say I'd eat it. I just said I'd give a bonus.
Well, what's the point if you're not going to eat it, Mr. Arthur?
It's an agricultural product.
I mean, yeah, but so is milk. Just drink milk, Mr. Arthur. Whatever. I'm about to go drink a glass of milk because it is.
Hashtag lactose intolerant. See y'all later.
I guess that's a great place to end it. We're out.